I still remember the day as if it was yesterday. The mailman's voice echoed from the front gate of my farmhouse. "Big delivery for you," he shouted. I hurried outside, wiping my hands on my apron, confused because I wasn't expecting any package. But what I saw nearly made my heart stop. 2 massive boxes sat at my doorstep, heavy and wrapped in glossy paper. When I cut the tape open, my jaw dropped. Inside were hundreds of wedding invitations, all beautifully printed, each one carrying my farm's address as the venue. And I had no idea. I flipped through the envelopes, my hands trembling. Each one had my farm's name, my land, my place, boldly written in golden letters, as if my farmhouse had become the family's grand wedding venue. And not a single person had asked me. I sank onto the steps, the world spinning around me. I could already imagine it. Cars flooding my dirt road, strangers trampling my fields, music shaking the walls of the place I had built with my own 2 hands. My sanctuary, my one safe corner of the world, suddenly snatched away from me by the people who were supposed to care about me the most. I wanted to scream, but all that escaped was a whisper. How could they? This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This wasn't a small mistake. This was a decision made behind my back, and it cut deeper than any knife. I picked up one of the invitations and stared at it. On the cover, embossed in shimmering ink, were the words, "You are joyfully invited to celebrate the wedding of Sophia and Daniel, to be held at the Harper family farm." My farm, my name, my life, used like it was just a prop in their fairy tale. The farm wasn't some casual event hall. It was my refuge. The last piece of land my late father left me. The place I had poured my blood, sweat, and tears into. Every fence post, every broken piece of wood I'd mended with my own hands. Every morning I'd woken up at dawn to care for the animals. Every evening I'd collapsed into bed with aching bones. And now, it was turned into a venue. A backdrop. Without my permission. I could already hear Dad's voice in my mind, rough but kind. "Don't let anyone walk over you, son. This farm is yours. Protect it." But what do you do when it's your own family holding the knife? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept pacing the farmhouse kitchen. The invitations scattered across the table. My heart wouldn't stop racing. I wanted answers, and I wanted them now. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number I knew was responsible. My sister, Emily. She answered cheerfully, almost too cheerfully. "Hey, did you get them? Aren't they beautiful?" I froze. "Get what? You mean the wedding invites? The ones with MY Farm's address plastered all over them?" There was a pause. Then she laughed lightly, like it was the smallest thing in the world. "Oh, that. Yeah, we figured it would be perfect. You have the space, the barn, the field. It's so rustic and charming. Everyone will love it." I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. "You figured? Emily, you didn't even ask me." Her tone shifted, defensive now. "Well, you weren't using the space for anything important. It's just one weekend. Don't make it a big deal." One weekend. One weekend for them, maybe. But for me, it was everything. I wanted to yell, to scream, to let her know the betrayal I felt. But instead, my voice cracked into a whisper. "You had no right." She sighed impatiently, like I was the one causing trouble. "Come on, don't be selfish. It's family. We all assumed you'd be happy to help. You know how expensive wedding venues are? You should be honored we chose your place." Honored. That was the moment something inside me broke. Because honor has nothing to do with betrayal. And that was just the beginning. The invitations had already gone out. 200 people. Strangers. Cars. Noise. My home, invaded. And I was left with a choice. Would I let them take my sanctuary, just like that? Or would I fight back? Even if it meant going against my own family? At that moment, I didn't know. All I knew was this. The war had just begun. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen, the dim yellow light flickering against the pile of invitations scattered across the table. Every time I picked one up, my hands shook. My farm, my name, my life, turned into a prop for a wedding I hadn't even agreed to. By sunrise, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to let this slide. I drove into town, straight to my mother's house. She lived only 10 miles away, but the drive felt like an eternity. My chest was heavy, my stomach twisting with a storm I couldn't settle. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw them, my mother, my sister Emily, and my cousin Anna, sitting at the porch table, sipping coffee like nothing was wrong. Their laughter cut through me like shards of glass. I slammed the car door shut, and the laughter died instantly. "Ah, so you've seen them," Emily muttered, eyes darting to the ground. I didn't waste time. I stormed up the porch steps, holding one of the golden invitations in my hand like it was evidence in a courtroom. "What is this?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "What the hell is this?" Mother glanced at me, her brows furrowed. "Lower your voice, James. Don't cause a scene." A scene. I laughed bitterly, waving the card in the air. 200 people think they're coming to my farm in 2 weeks for a wedding I never agreed to. And you're telling me not to cause a scene? Emily looked annoyed, like I was the child and she was the adult. "We didn't think you'd mind. Honestly, James, you live out there all alone with your animals and your empty fields. It's just one night. Why can't you be happy for me?" "Happy?" My voice cracked. "You hijacked the only thing Dad left me. Without asking. Without even considering what it means to me. And you think I should be happy?" Mother stood now, placing her cup down with a sharp clink. Her tone was sharp, but her eyes were strangely calm. "James, it's family. Sometimes sacrifices must be made. Don't be so dramatic. You're overreacting." Overreacting. That word made my blood boil. I looked at her, my own mother, and for the first time, I felt like a stranger in my own bloodline. The argument exploded from there. Anna chimed in, trying to soothe things but only fanning the flames. "Think of it this way," she said gently. "The farm will look beautiful. All decorated, filled with flowers, lights, music. Maybe it will bring some joy into that lonely place." That lonely place. The words pierced me deeper than any insult. They didn't see the farm as I saw it. They didn't see the sweat, the long nights, the memories of my father echoing in every fence post. They saw it as empty, useless, a backdrop for their show. "Joy." I spat. "Joy for who?" "Not me. I'll be cleaning up trash, repairing broken fences, picking up bottles from strangers who don't give a damn about what this place means. You want joy? Rent a hall like normal people." Emily's face turned red. "You're being selfish. I'm your sister. This is the most important day of my life. And you're making it about you. Because it is about me." I shouted. "This is my home, Emily. Mine. And none of you even had the decency to ask." The air grew thick with silence. Mother stared at me, her jaw clenched. Then she whispered something that would haunt me for days. "Your father would have wanted this." I froze. My father. The man who taught me to protect this land, who made me promise I would never let anyone take advantage of it. I shook my head, my voice low but trembling. "Don't you dare bring Dad into this. You know damn well he'd be standing on my side right now." But she didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. I drove home that day feeling more alone than I had in years. The family I thought I could trust had chosen convenience over respect. They didn't see me. They didn't value me. And deep down, I feared this was only the beginning, because 200 invitations had already been sent. And in 2 weeks, the storm was coming to my doorstep, whether I was ready or not. That night, I walked through the barn, lantern in hand. The animals stirred softly as I passed. I stopped at the corner of the barn where Dad's old workbench still stood, dusty and covered in tools. I placed one of the invitations there, and whispered into the empty air, "Dad, what do I do?" But the only answer was silence. The following morning, as I was mending the chicken coop fence, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. "Hello." I answered cautiously. A man's voice came through, smooth, too smooth. "Yes, hello. I just received an invitation for the Harper Farm wedding. I wanted to confirm parking arrangements for my vehicles." "Parking?" I repeated, confused. "What vehicles?" He chuckled softly. "Oh, don't worry about it. Just a couple of luxury cars and a delivery van. We'll need extra space, but I'm sure the farm can handle it." My chest tightened. Something about his tone was off. This wasn't just some guest. He spoke like he had Other business. Who are you? I asked sharply. The line went quiet. Then a click. The call ended. I stared at the phone in my hand, a chill creeping down my spine. What the hell was going on? That night, sleep was impossible. My mind kept replaying the man's voice, the way he said delivery van like it meant something more. And a horrifying thought began to take shape in my mind. What if the wedding wasn't just a wedding? What if my farm was being used for something else? Something darker. The days after the confrontation were heavy. I couldn't shake the stranger's voice on the phone. The way he'd said delivery van still echoed in my ears. Why would a wedding guest care about parking arrangements for vans? Something wasn't right. But before I could piece it together, the preparations began. Emily showed up at the farm 2 days later with a team of people. Decorators, florists, rental trucks, all without warning. I came out of the barn to see men unloading crates of lights and speakers, hammering posts into the ground like they owned the place. What the hell is going on here? I shouted, storming across the field. One of the men shrugged. Orders from the bride. Big wedding, big setup. I shoved my way past them and found Emily standing in the middle of my field, clipboard in hand, barking instructions. Emily. I snapped. I told you this wasn't happening. She turned annoyed. Oh, stop being dramatic. Look at how amazing it's going to be. Just picture it. Lanterns in the trees, music in the barn, 100 fairy lights strung across the pasture. People will talk about this wedding for years. My chest burned. You're trampling over everything I've built. This isn't just land, it's my life. My home. She waved me off like a child throwing a tantrum. You're overreacting again. It's just for one night. And then everything goes back to normal. Normal? What she didn't understand was that once you let 200 strangers tear through your sanctuary, it's never normal again. Later that evening, after everyone had left, I walked the property. My boots crunched against the dirt as I checked the fences. That's when I noticed it. By the far corner of the barn, hidden under a tarp, was a crate that hadn't been there before. I pulled back the cover, expecting maybe decorations or extra chairs. But instead my heart dropped. Inside were cases sealed heavy, too heavy to be flowers or plates. I pried one open with a crowbar. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't wedding supplies. It was alcohol. Expensive bottles, cases stacked neatly, dozens of them. Now maybe that wouldn't sound strange. People drink at weddings. But this wasn't just wine or champagne. These were imported bottles, brands I knew were worth hundreds each. And there weren't 10 or 20. There were hundreds. Way more than for a wedding. I snapped the lid shut, my pulse racing. Why would Emily or anyone need this much alcohol? And why hide it in my barn? Then a darker thought hit me. What if the wedding was just a cover? What if my farm was being used for something illegal? That night, I called my cousin Anna. She had always been the more reasonable one, the one who could talk Emily down. Anna, I said, my voice low. I need to ask you something. Do you know anything about supplies being brought here? For the wedding? There was silence on the other end. Too much silence. Finally, she whispered, James, just don't ask questions. It's better that way. My chest tightened. What do you mean better that way? This is my home. If something's happening here, I need to know. Her voice trembled. Please just let it go. After the wedding, it'll all be over. And then she hung up. I couldn't let it go. Not when my home, my father's legacy, was being used for something I didn't understand. The next day, I went into town and asked around. Nothing direct, just little questions to people at the diner, the hardware store, the gas station. That's when I heard it. A man at the counter lowered his voice as he spoke to the waitress. Big party at the Harper farm, huh? Heard they're moving some stuff through there. Stuff? The waitress asked. He smirked. You know, the kind that pays well if you keep your mouth shut. My blood turned cold. I stepped out before they could notice me, my heart pounding in my ears. So it was true. The wedding wasn't just a wedding. It was a cover-up. But what exactly was being covered? That evening, I confronted Emily again. She was back at the farm inspecting decorations. I grabbed her arm, forcing her to look at me. Tell me the truth. What's going on here? Why are there crates of alcohol in my barn? What are people whispering about in town? She yanked her arm away, her eyes flashing with anger. Stay out of it, James. You don't understand. Make me understand. I snapped. This is my home, my land. And if something illegal is happening here, I'll be the one paying the price. Her lips trembled for just a second before she steadied herself. It's none of your concern. Just let it happen. One night. That's all. After that, everything goes back to the way it was. Her words echoed my mother's. The same rehearse line. That's when I realized. They all knew. Mother, Emily, Anna. They weren't just planning a wedding. They were hiding something bigger. And they were willing to sacrifice me, and my farm, to do it. 2 nights later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I heard the crunch of tires on my gravel road. A sleek black car pulled up, too polished for these dusty roads. A man stepped out, tall, sharp suit, slicked hair. He didn't look like he belonged anywhere near farmland. He spotted me by the barn and smiled. But it wasn't the kind of smile that brought comfort. You must be James, he said smoothly, the proud owner of the Harper farm. I stayed silent, my jaw tight. He walked closer, his shoes too clean for dirt. I hear you've been concerned. Asking questions. Stirring things up. My stomach dropped. Who are you? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and handed it to me. I unfolded it. My blood ran cold. It was a list. Names. Numbers. And at the bottom, my name. My farm's address. He leaned in, his voice a low warning. This wedding is going to happen. Whether you like it or not. So for your sake, James, stop asking questions. And with that, he slipped back into the car, and disappeared into the night, leaving me trembling in the dust. That night, I sat in my kitchen staring at the paper, my hands shaking. This wasn't just about a wedding. This wasn't just about family betrayal. This was something bigger. Something dangerous. And now I was in the middle of it, whether I wanted to be or not. The night after the suited stranger appeared at my gate, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his smile, that cold, dangerous curve of his lips. And the paper he left me, with my name at the bottom of a list. By morning, I was running on nothing but adrenaline and black coffee. The farm didn't feel like mine anymore. Every creak of the barn, every hum of the wind in the fields, it all felt tainted. Like strangers had already moved in, and I was just a guest in my own home. I drove back into town, this time not for confrontation but for answers. Mother had always been the quiet orchestrator of things in our family. If Emily was reckless, Mother was the one pulling strings behind the scenes. When I walked into her kitchen, she was at the table folding linens, calm as ever. James, she said without looking up. I wondered how long it would take you to come. I froze. So you knew. She sighed, finally meeting my eyes. There was no guilt there, no remorse. Just tired resolve. Of course I knew. This isn't about you, James. This is about family. About survival. Survival? I snapped. What are you talking about? You've turned my farm into something dangerous. Do you even know the people you're letting in here? Her voice was soft but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. Sometimes you have to align with power, even if it makes you uncomfortable. This wedding, it's not just about Emily. It's about securing ties. Connections. Making sure the family isn't left behind. Connections. The word tasted bitter. You sold us out. I whispered. You sold me out. For what? Money? Influence? Mother's eyes narrowed. For safety. You think you're the only one clinging to your father's ghost, but you don't understand the world we're living in. These men, they have reach. You don't say no to them. Not if you want to keep what's yours. Her words hit me harder than any slap. Keep what's mine. I laughed bitterly. I've already lost it, Mother. Thanks to you. By the next week, the groom's relatives began arriving in town. Daniel, the man Emily was marrying, was from a family I didn't know much about. They weren't locals. In fact, they weren't from anywhere nearby. But when their cars rolled in, sleek black SUVs, tinted windows, it was clear they weren't just wealthy. They were powerful. One evening, I found myself at the local gas station, filling up my truck, when one of them stepped out of a vehicle across the lot. Tall, heavy build, gold ring flashing on his finger. He watched me the entire time, eyes never blinking. And then, just as I was about to get in my truck, he called out, "You're the brother, aren't you? The one with the farm." I froze. "Yeah." He smirked. "Beautiful place. Perfect for gatherings." Something about the way he said gatherings made my skin crawl. Back at the farm, I doubled down on searching. If something was being hidden here, I had to know what before it was too late. And sure enough, 2 days before the wedding, I found it. Behind the barn, buried under hay bales, was another shipment. Not alcohol this time. Weapons. Crates filled with guns neatly packed, some still oiled from the factory. My knees nearly buckled. My farm, my sanctuary, wasn't just being used for a wedding. It was being used as a smuggling ground. The wedding was just a convenient cover. 100 guests, noise, traffic. No one would question extra vans or deliveries. No one would suspect. Except me. I stormed into the farmhouse where Emily was helping Anna with decorations. My hands were shaking, my voice raw. "Enough!" I shouted. "You brought weapons here. Guns. Do you even realize what you've done?" Emily's face went pale. Anna dropped a box of candles, the glass shattering across the floor. "James," Emily whispered. "You weren't supposed to find out." "Find out?" I roared. "This is my home. My land. And you've turned it into a crime scene." Tears welled in her eyes, but her voice hardened. "I didn't have a choice. Daniel's family, they said this was the only way. If we refused, they'd call off the wedding. They'd ruin us. She trailed off, her voice cracking. "They'd what?" I demanded. Anna spoke softly from the corner. "They threatened us, James. All of us. This isn't just about a wedding anymore. It's about control. And if we fight them, we lose everything." I stared at them both, disbelief flooding me. "So you decided to sacrifice me instead?" Emily sobbed now, clutching her face. "I thought you'd understand. I thought you'd protect me, like you always have. But you don't get it, they're dangerous." I turned toward the door, my voice shaking with fury. "Dangerous or not, this ends. I won't let Dad's land become their playground." And as I stepped out into the fading sunlight, one thought burned hotter than the rest. They weren't just using my farm. They were using my family. And I was the only one left willing to fight back. That night, as I locked up the barn, headlights swept across the yard. A car rolled up slowly, too slowly, until it stopped at the gate. The same suited man from before stepped out, hands in his pockets, that same unsettling smile on his face. "James," he said smoothly, "I hear you've been troublesome, poking your nose where it doesn't belong." I said nothing, just tightened my grip on the crowbar I carried. He chuckled. "Relax. We don't want trouble. We just want cooperation. One night, that's all. After that, we're gone." I clenched my jaw. "You're not using my land for this. Not for your weapons. Not for anything." His smile faded, replaced by something colder. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You should be careful, James. Farms have accidents. Fires. People disappear." The chill that ran down my spine was like ice water. He leaned back, smiling again. "Think about it. One night of silence, or a lifetime of regret." And with that, he returned to his car and disappeared into the dark. That night, as I lay awake in bed, one truth settled deep in my chest. This wasn't just about saving my farm anymore. This was about survival. Mine. And maybe even Emily's. The morning of the wedding felt wrong from the moment I woke up. The sun rose heavy and red, casting long shadows across the fields. The animals were restless. Even the air seemed to carry a weight, thick and uneasy, as though the land itself knew what was coming. By noon, the farm was unrecognizable. Cars lined the dirt road for nearly a mile, sleek vehicles, luxury sedans, black SUVs. Strangers flooded through the gates in expensive suits and glittering dresses. Laughter and chatter filled the air, but beneath it all, I could feel the pulse of something darker. I stood by the barn, watching as the field that had once been my quiet refuge turned into a carnival of noise. Fairy lights strung from the trees. Music spilling from giant speakers. Tables dressed in silk cloths and golden plates. It should have been beautiful. But to me it felt like an invasion. As the guests poured in, I noticed something. They weren't all smiling family friends or distant relatives. Some men stood apart, stiff, scanning the crowd with sharp eyes. Earpieces tucked discreetly into their ears. They weren't guests, they were guards. And then there were the vans. 3 of them, parked casually by the far side of the barn. No one paid them any attention, but I knew. I knew what was inside. Weapons. Hidden under the cover of a wedding. Every laugh, every clink of a glass, every cheer from the guests felt like mockery. Because I was the only one who knew the truth. And if I stayed silent, I'd be complicit. The ceremony began in the pasture, under an arch of roses. Emily walked down the aisle, radiant in her white dress, smiling as though nothing was wrong. My chest tightened. Part of me wanted to hate her for dragging us into this mess. But another part, the older brother part, still saw the little girl I used to protect. The one who held my hand when storms shook the farmhouse at night. She caught my eyes as she passed, her smile faltering for just a second. There was fear there, hidden beneath the makeup and the veil. And in that moment I realized. She wasn't just guilty. She was trapped. The vows were said, rings exchanged, applause roaring. Cameras flashed. The crowd erupted with joy as Emily and Daniel kissed under the rose arch. But I couldn't celebrate. Because while everyone's eyes were on the happy couple, I saw something else. One of the van's doors cracked open. A man slipped out, carrying a crate toward the barn. Another followed, glancing over his shoulder, making sure no one noticed. My pulse pounded in my ears. This wasn't just a hunch anymore. The wedding was a smuggling operation in disguise. As the reception began, I tried to confront Emily one last time. I pulled her aside behind the barn, away from the music and laughter. You have to tell me the truth, I begged. This isn't just about a wedding, is it? Daniel's family, they're using you. Using us. Her eyes filled with tears, her voice breaking. I didn't want this, James. I thought it would stop after the invitations. I thought it was just alcohol, just money. But it's bigger than that. If I say no, they'll hurt us. They'll hurt you. My heart sank. Then we go to the police. She shook her head violently. You don't understand. The police are already on their side. There's no one left to turn to. Her words knocked the breath out of me. No one left. Except me. As the night fell and the party grew louder, another car pulled up the gravel road. But this one was different. An old pickup truck. Dusty, beaten. The kind that didn't belong among the shiny sedans and SUVs. Out stepped a man I hadn't seen in years. Broad shoulders, weathered face, eyes sharp as steel. Uncle Ray. He'd disappeared after Dad's funeral, cutting ties with the family. Rumors said he got into trouble, debts, maybe worse. But now here he was, walking straight toward me. Looks like you're in a mess, kid, he muttered, his voice rough like gravel. I stared at him, stunned. What are you doing here? He glanced at the barn, at the vans, at the guards lurking in the shadows. His jaw tightened. Because I know who they are, he said grimly. And if you don't stop this tonight, you'll lose more than your farm. You'll lose everything. As he spoke, a sharp whistle cut through the air. I turned and saw Daniel, Emily's new husband, standing on the porch of the farmhouse, glass of champagne in hand, grinning at the crowd. But when his eyes met mine, that grin shifted. Not joy. Not love. Power. And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't just a wedding. This was an initiation. My sister hadn't married into a family. She'd married into a syndicate. Ray grabbed my arm, pulling me close. Listen to me, James. You've got 2 choices. Stay quiet, let them finish their deal, and pray they leave you alone. Or stand up and risk your life. My chest heaved, anger and fear colliding inside me. But deep down, I knew there was never really a choice. Because silence would mean losing everything Dad fought to leave me. Silence would mean giving in to fear. And I wasn't ready to surrender. Not yet. That night, as music blared and laughter echoed across the fields, I stood alone by the barn, staring at the vans, my fists clenched. A storm was coming. And this time, I wasn't running. The wedding reception roared late into the night. Music thundered, champagne flowed, laughter spilled across my land. To anyone watching, it looked like a celebration of love. But I knew the truth. This was no wedding. It was a front. And every second that passed, the noose around my farm and my family tightened. From the corner of my eye, I saw movement again by the barn. 2 men wheeled in crates from one of the vans, careful, deliberate. They didn't laugh. They didn't drink. They worked. Ray nudged me. That's it, kid. That's the stash. Guns, cash, may be worse. They're stockpiling for a shipment tonight. My jaw clenched. The barn. Dad's barn. The one place on this land still untouched by betrayal. The one place I thought was safe. And now it was their warehouse. Inside the reception tent, Emily twirled in Daniel's arms, the perfect bride. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Every time he leaned in close, she stiffened, her laughter strained. The crowd cheered, oblivious. But I saw it. The fear. The regret. She caught my eye again, and for the briefest second, her lips formed a single word. Help. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay silent. I slipped through the shadows to the edge of the barn. The door creaked as I pushed it open, and the smell of oil and dust hit me. Inside, under dim lights, 2 men were prying open a crate. My stomach turned. Not wine. Not decorations. Weapons. Rows of rifles neatly stacked. Crates of ammunition. And in the corner, something worse. A black duffel bag, unzipped, revealing neat bricks of powder. Drugs. My farm had become their armory. Their hub. I backed away, heart hammering. But a voice stopped me cold. Well, look who finally decided to snoop. I froze. Slowly I turned. And there he was. Daniel. Emily's husband. My new brother-in-law. Except now, there was no smile on his face. Just cold, sharp amusement. You really thought you could just mind your own business, James, he sneered. You're on my land now. My family's land. My land. I snapped, anger boiling through me. This farm belongs to me. To my father's blood, not your syndicate. He laughed, low and dangerous. Not anymore. Tonight it becomes ours. And thanks to your sister, it's already signed away. His words cut deeper than any knife. Signed away? Emily. Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded set of papers. He held them up, shaking them tauntingly. Marriage contract. Property transfer. Your sweet sister signed it all as part of her dowry. My chest collapsed. The air left my lungs. Emily. She hadn't just married him. She had unknowingly given away everything. My father's land. My life's work. Gone. Unless I stopped it. Why? I choked out. Why drag us into this? You had money, power, connections. Why take my farm? Daniel smirked. Because no one suspects a farm in the middle of nowhere. Perfect cover. No cops snooping, no neighbors watching. Just you. And you were too stupid to stop it. His voice turned colder. But that changes tonight. You've seen too much. And I can't risk you running your mouth. He reached into his jacket. My blood froze. Before he could draw, a sharp crack split the air. The sound of a gunshot. Daniel staggered back, clutching his shoulder, cursing. Behind me in the shadows, Uncle Ray lowered his smoking revolver. His face was hard, his eyes merciless. Run your mouth now, pretty boy, Ray growled. Chaos erupted. The guards at the barn door lunged, guns raised. Ray fired again, dropping one, while I swung a heavy plank of wood into the other. He crumpled, groaning. The crates rattled, bullets spilling across the floor. The barn filled with smoke, shouts, and panic. And through it all, Daniel roared, his voice breaking with rage. You think this ends here? This is just the beginning. Then Emily appeared. Her dress torn at the hem, hair falling loose, eyes wide with fear. She stumbled into the barn, gasping. James, she cried. Daniel, stop this, please. But Daniel grabbed her, yanking her close, pressing a knife to her throat. One wrong move and she'd be gone. The room froze. You want your farm? Daniel hissed. Fine. I'll leave you the dirt. But she comes with me. Tears streamed down Emily's face as her eyes met mine. And for the first time, I saw it all. the guilt, the love, the desperation. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for this." Her hands trembled, but then slowly, she shifted her weight, and with a sudden surge, she drove her elbow into Daniel's ribs. The knife slipped. His grip loosened. "Now James," she screamed. I charged. The world became a blur of fists, shouts, and crashing crates. Daniel swung wildly, rage twisting his face. I ducked, slammed my shoulder into him, sent him sprawling against the crates. Ray pulled Emily to safety, shouting for me to finish it. But Daniel wasn't done. He lunged again, knife flashing in the dim light. I caught his wrist, the blade inches from my chest, the strain tearing at my muscles. His breath reeked of champagne and blood. "This farm is mine," he spat. "No," I growled, every ounce of strength surging through me. "It's ours." With a final heave, I twisted his arm and drove the knife into the wooden crate beside us. Daniel screamed, collapsing as the blade wrenched free from his grip. The barn fell silent, except for his ragged breathing. But silence didn't last. One of the fallen guards twitched, his lighter sparking as it slipped from his hand, and landed in a puddle of spilled alcohol. Flames roared to life. In seconds, the barn was an inferno, fire racing up the wooden beams, smoke choking the air. "Out!" Ray bellowed. He dragged Emily toward the door. I stumbled after them, half dragging Daniel's limp body until I realized he wasn't moving. He wasn't getting back up. And for the first time that night, I didn't care. We burst out of the barn just as the roof collapsed behind us, flames devouring everything inside. The crates, the drugs, the weapons, the proof, gone. The guests screamed, scattering into the night. Cars roared down the dirt road, tires spinning, headlights cutting through the smoke. Within minutes, the farm was empty. Just us, standing in the glow of the burning barn. My father's legacy in flames. But Daniel's syndicate broken. At least for now. Emily fell to her knees, sobbing into her hands. Ray stood over us, grim but steady. I stared at the fire, my heart hollow. The land was still mine, but scarred, blackened, ruined. My sister was safe, but broken. My uncle was back, but older, darker, carrying secrets of his own. And me? I wasn't sure who I was anymore. But as the flames crackled and the smoke rose into the night sky, I knew one thing for certain. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. The fire burned until dawn. By the time the last beam of the barn collapsed, the land looked like a battlefield. Smoke clung to the sky, ash drifted through the fields, and the smell of charred wood and gunpowder hung heavy in the air. I hadn't slept. None of us had. Emily sat on the porch steps, her wedding dress stained with dirt and tears, staring blankly at the ruins. Uncle Ray leaned against his old truck, cigarette glowing faintly in the shadows. And me, I stood in the field, barefoot in the wet grass, staring at what was left of my father's legacy. The farm had survived storms, debt, and decades of hard labor, but it had never survived betrayal. When the sun finally broke, Emily spoke. Her voice was hoarse, small. "I ruined everything." Her words cut through the silence, and she began to sob, trembling so hard her shoulders shook. "I thought I was helping," Daniel promised. "He said it was just money, just business. I didn't know about the weapons. I didn't know he'd take the farm. I swear, James, I didn't know. I wanted to be angry, to shout at her, to throw her words back in her face. But when I looked at her, her swollen eyes, her broken posture, the little sister who had once clung to me during thunderstorms, I couldn't. Instead, I sat beside her. "You made a mistake," I said quietly. "A big one. But you're still my sister. And I won't let him take you from me too." Her hand gripped mine, fragile but desperate. Ray stubbed his cigarette, watching us with hard eyes. "You kids don't get it," he muttered. "You think this ends with one man bleeding out in a barn?" Daniel was small time compared to the family behind him. "They'll come looking for what burned tonight. And when they do, they won't knock politely." His words chilled me. "So what do we do?" I asked. Ray exhaled, slow and heavy. "We prepare. We fight back if we have to. But first, we get smart." That fire wiped out the stash, but it also erased the evidence. Far as anyone knows, it was just an accident at a wedding. And you need to keep it that way. Emily flinched. You mean lie? Survive, Ray corrected. If you don't want the rest of that syndicate tearing this place apart, you keep your head down. Both of you. For weeks, life slowed to a crawl. The guests never came back. The neighbors whispered, but no one asked questions. The police filed the fire as faulty wiring. Emily moved into the farmhouse with me, stripped of her illusions, clinging to every chance she had to make things right. She worked the fields with me, cooked meals, kept the house from collapsing. Ray stayed too, on and off, teaching me things I didn't expect. How to read a man's lies. How to use a rifle. How to watch the tree line at night without being seen. It wasn't the life I wanted, but it was the life I had. Then one evening a letter came. No stamp. No address. Just slipped under the farmhouse door. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A symbol was drawn across it. An intricate crest, sharp lines curled around the image of a serpent. And beneath it, in careful handwriting, the debt is not paid. The land is still ours. We are coming. My stomach dropped. Emily gasped when she saw it. Ray cursed under his breath. The syndicate hadn't forgotten. The fire hadn't freed us. It had only delayed them. That night, as I sat alone in the field, staring at the stars, I thought about everything. Dad's voice echoed in my memory. The land isn't just soil. It's blood. It's family. But now, the land wasn't just family. It was a target. And as the wind moved through the grass, carrying the faint smell of ash, I realized something that chilled me more than the letter. Maybe Daniel had been telling the truth that night in the barn. Maybe the farm wasn't mine anymore. Because once blood stains the soil, it never really washes away. And whether I liked it or not, this land now belonged to the serpent. So when you ask me about that wedding, about the night my family sent 200 invitations with my farm's address without asking me, I'll tell you this. It wasn't just a wedding. It was the day I buried the man I used to be, and became something else. The day my farm became a battlefield. And the day I realized, family doesn't always save you. Sometimes, family destroys you. The farm hasn't been the same since that night. The barn's ashes still stain the ground like a scar, blackened earth that nothing will grow on. No matter how many times I turn the soil, the grass refuses to return. It's as if the land remembers, as if it refuses to forgive. Every time the wind shifts, I smell smoke that isn't there. Every time the night is too quiet, I hear the faint echo of music, laughter, and screams. The wedding ended in flames, but the story didn't. Emily stayed. She could have run, fled back to the city, buried the memories under a new name. But she didn't. She stayed, working beside me day after day, her hands blistered and scarred, her once delicate fingers roughened by soil and sweat. There were nights she woke up crying, whispering Daniel's name in guilt and grief. But there were mornings too, when she stood on the porch with a cup of coffee, looking at the sunrise, whispering, "This is home. I won't lose it again." And though the past hung heavy between us, I believed her. Ray never left completely. He came and went, always vanishing for weeks at a time, then showing up again with mud on his boots and secrets in his eyes. Sometimes he'd warn me, "Keep the shotgun loaded." Sometimes he'd laugh darkly, "They're watching, kid. They're always watching." I never knew how much he told us, how much he kept buried. But one thing was certain. Ray was the kind of man who had made enemies his whole life, and some of those enemies overlapped with ours. And yet, he was the only reason we were still alive. It started subtle. A black car parked down the road, engine idling for hours. A stranger at the gas station, watching me too closely. A phone call at night, silence on the other end, then a click. They never came close. Not yet. But the message was clear. They hadn't forgotten. I've thought about leaving, selling what's left, walking away, starting fresh somewhere far from here. But every time I picture it, I see Dad's face, his calloused hands, his tired smile, the way he used to pat the soil like it was alive. "This land is us," he'd say. "As long as it stands, so do we." And I know if I walk away they win. Daniel wins. The serpent wins. So I stay. Even if it costs me everything. One night, months after the fire, I stood alone in the field. The stars blazed overhead, the wind rippling the tall grass. For the first time in a long while it almost felt peaceful. But then I saw it. At the far edge of the field, just beyond the tree line. A figure. Still. Watching. My chest tightened. My pulse thundered. I didn't move. Neither did they. Minutes passed. The figure turned and disappeared into the woods. And in that moment, I realized something I'd been avoiding since that cursed wedding. This farm isn't just mine anymore. It's theirs too. So when people ask me about that night, the wedding with 200 invitations sent to my farm without asking me, I don't tell them about the flowers, or the vows, or the kiss. I tell them about the fire, the betrayal, the blood that sank into the soil and never left. And I tell them this. The farm still stands. But it doesn't sleep. Because some ghosts don't leave when the fire dies. Some ghosts stay. And every night, when the wind moves through the fields, I know one thing for certain. They're coming back.